Welcome to First Issues. Botswana's growth post-independence is one that has been revered. With only 4 kilometers of tarred road at independence, Botswana now has a tarred road network that is more than 35,000 kilometers long. At present, the country has the highest Human Development Index in the Sub-Saharan Africa region, 5th highest in all of Africa, among the continent's richest in GDP per capita. That after ranking the 2nd poorest country in the world and among 5 least developed countries just after independence. With these facts and many more, it is clear that Botswana's growth story has arguably been a success. However, with a need to diversify growth from diamonds, which have been the biggest contributor to the country's GDP, for Botswana to continue its transformation, its growth must be more sustainable and away from mineral wealth. In this context, the World Bank launched a flagship study titled Botswana in Search of New Drivers of Inclusive Growth, in essence to provide a forward-looking view on growth opportunities and their key constraints. First Issues sat down with Dr. Victoria Kwakwa, Vice President of Eastern and Southern Africa of the World Bank, to establish further understanding into the study. Victoria, thank you so much for coming on First Issues and affording us your time. We're here today to talk about the flagship report titled Botswana in Search for New Drivers for Inclusive Growth that the World Bank and the government of Botswana have partnered on, and we're just from a consultative engagement. So please tell us what the study is about and what it is aiming to delve into.
Botswana is a country that did very well some decades back, a decade and a half or so ago. Right from independence on, set itself on a good path and did well, had a strong track record, outstanding, I would say, for about 30 years of 7% average annual growth, reduced poverty significantly, and really stood out, built strong institutions, good governance, and so on. And all of this was because it used its diamond revenues well. It managed them well, and it used them to benefit the population. And so this was really critical to Botswana's success. Now, what has happened in the last decade and a half or so is that growth has slowed. We're not seeing the same gains. Poverty reduction has slowed, and we still see stubbornly high levels of inequality. So poverty rate about 50%. If you use the $6.85, which is the upper middle income threshold, and growth is slowing, and we also know that diamonds are going to run out after a while. So the question really is, how does Botswana get back on track to have a good chance of achieving its objective of becoming a high-income country by 2036? What will it take? What are the constraints that need to be addressed? And what are the policies that need to be in place? What are the things that will drive productivity enhancements, that will stir growth, and growth at pretty high levels? Because at this rate, you're not going to get the 6% growth or so that you need to achieve your high income status, reduce poverty, tackle inequality, and so on.
Primarily speaking, what would you say are some of those challenges that maybe might be found in the study, and what new opportunities for growth do you think actually do exist or might exist to help Botswana get back on track, like you said?
Well, the challenges, as I said, productivity has slowed. Because productivity has slowed, you're not getting as much growth happening. So that's one. I think another challenge is that this economy has been very dominated by diamonds. Diamonds have worked for you, but you haven't been able to use it effectively to diversify the economy and get several more sources of growth. And then, I don't think Botswana has been able to really engineer a very dynamic private sector that generates the numbers of jobs that you need. And you know, job creation is so fundamental to poverty reduction. You know, even if you're growing and you're not creating enough jobs, you're not going to reduce poverty. So these are some of the challenges. Now, what are some of the opportunities? You know, and so the broad things in terms of economic policy, economic management, and then I'll talk about a couple of sectors. You know, the first is really, as the report says, that you need policies in place to really foster a dynamic private sector. And there, I think it's really about the regulatory environment, you know, and creating a regulatory environment that is not burdensome, that allows the private sector to do its work well, and that creates a level playing field between the private sector and the state sector. Botswana still has a large state-owned enterprise sector, you know, so that dominance of the state-owned sectors takes away from the private sector's ability to do its work. And just really the framework, the business environment, it's a little challenging. The steps to get permits, to get things that you to bring labor in. So those are so you need dynamic for it. And if you're able to put the policy environment in place to foster dynamic firms, that is one thing that can drive growth. Another thing is really labor market skills. We've talked to the private sector in the time that I've been here. A lot of them say skills is a major constraint. And then access to finance, particularly for SMEs, you know, is a big issue. And access to finance for people that are starting first, you know, sort of, you have your startup and you're trying to do something new. How do you get the resources to do that? So if we were able to solve that, that's another opportunity.
What is the World Bank's responsibility then, for which you're the Vice President, in helping Botswana make this transformation?
The World Bank really values the partnership that we have with Botswana. We think that it's a partnership that is mutually beneficial. It's hopefully beneficial for Botswana, and it's beneficial for us as well as a development institution, because there's lots of lessons that we can take from Botswana, and helping small countries like Botswana achieve great things can really provide lessons. So we're pleased with the partnership, and certainly we can do more. But let me start by saying that, you know, this is not about the World Bank, it's about Botswana. And so Botswana is in the lead, and we put our weight behind you to help you find solutions, to help you look at the different options and what might work best. And then to help bring the resources to the table that can be a contributor to your success. So right now what we're doing is working on what we call a country partnership framework that will spell out the strategic orientation of our partnership with Botswana over the next 5 years. And that, of course, will reflect the government's priorities. And through that, through some of the financing that we bring to the table, we can help Botswana move forward.
This program was brought to you in association with First National Bank of Botswana.